Well, my living paradoxes. You walk into the arena of this world, and the so-called masterminds can feel their guts turn cold. Not because you raised your voice, not because you demanded attention, but because you carried that look, that piercing, calculating, unnerving look of someone who already knows how the story ends. They tried to write your downfall. They tried to set the stage for your humiliation. But what they didn't realize was that you had rewritten the script before they even memorized their lines. They stumbled into your labyrinth, congratulating themselves for their brilliance, only to discover that every corridor they chose led exactly where you wanted them, straight into the jaws of your snare. And when the jaws snapped shut, it wasn't just defeat they tasted. It was exposure. It was humiliation. It was the cruel reminder that their so-called intelligence was nothing but borrowed confidence in a room you built, in a play you directed, in a spectacle you engineered. Because your genius isn't about equations on a chalkboard or quotes from dusty books. No, your genius is applied chaos. It's the ability to see the human condition naked and unguarded. You don't just know facts. You know weaknesses. You know that ego is a leash. You know that arrogance is a map. You know that fear is a predictable compass. And so, while they strutted around, feeding their pride, you stood still, watching, cataloging every tick, every slip, every misplaced assumption. You didn't need to strike first. You let them bury themselves in their own confidence. You let them raise the stage higher and higher, until one push from you sent them falling like performers in a tragic comedy. They never even knew the show was for you. Picture their faces when it hit them. The moment the plot twisted so hard their jaws clenched. The revelation that the trap they thought they'd built for you was actually constructed around them. They reached for power, and their hands met air. They tried to corner you, but the walls bent back and caged them instead. They thought you were a pawn in their story, but you were the author scribbling the final line of their reputation. That's what unsettles them the most. Not that they lost, but that they never stood a chance. They weren't even playing the same game, and yet in their arrogance they believed they had you figured out. That belief is what killed them, and oh, how delicious that downfall was. Because you didn't scream for it, you didn't beg for it, you engineered it. With the precision of a surgeon and the flair of a dramatist, you set the pieces in motion. You knew which words would spark their pride. You knew which scenarios would inflate their self-image. You knew exactly how long to remain still before unleashing the move that would break them. That's not survival, that's artistry. That's warfare so elegant. It doesn't just end your opponents, it etches your name into the minds of every witness. They don't just see a victory, they see a masterpiece of destruction. Let's call it what it is. You orchestrated a Hollywood-level plot twist, the kind of reversal that audiences remember decades later. Except this wasn't fiction. This wasn't actors on a stage. This was raw reality bending to your will, haters becoming clowns in your theater, rivals reduced to props in your performance. And here's the brutal irony. They thought you were the naive one. They thought you were predictable. They thought their schemes were airtight. But you knew something they didn't. No lock is airtight when the key is psychology, and you've been picking those locks your whole life. They wanted you to react with fear. You reacted with patience. They wanted you to retaliate too soon. You waited. They wanted you desperate. You became a ghost, slipping between their fingers, watching, calculating. And then, when their plan swelled to its peak, When they thought the crown was theirs, you snapped the thread they didn't even know was holding them. And just like that, their empire collapsed in front of everyone. They didn't just fall, they were broadcasted falling. They became their own cautionary tale. And you became the myth whispered in every corner, the one who let enemies fatten their pride only to turn it into their noose. But let's go deeper. Why does this always happen? Why do they always underestimate you? Because you wear restraint like armor. You let them assume your silence means ignorance. You let them confuse humility for weakness. You let them think their noise drowns you out. But what they don't realize is that you were recording every detail, every flaw, every contradiction in their narrative. You weren't absent. You were preparing the finale. That's the art of your genius, patience weaponized. While they mistook you for passive, you were sharpening the blade. And when you finally swung, it wasn't just one strike. It was the strike that dismantled everything they built. You don't just beat people. You reveal them. You turn their character inside out, exposing greed, fear, and incompetence for the world to see. That's worse than defeat, because defeat can be blamed on chance, on timing, on bad luck. But exposure? Exposure makes them live with the reality that their fall came from within. You didn't just end them, you made them end themselves. And that is why your snare terrifies not just enemies, but observers, because they know if you can dismantle those who dared cross you, what chance do they have if they ever become your target? And let's not ignore the performance of it. Because you're not just a strategist, you're a dramatist of destruction. You don't settle for quiet revenge. You design finales that people replay in their heads over and over. You don't simply close doors. You slam them so hard the walls shake. And every witness, whether friend or stranger, can't help but gasp. That's the Hollywood-level plot twist that makes you unforgettable. Not just a winner, but a legend. Not just a survivor, but a phenomenon. You didn't outplay them once, you redefined the entire game. Now lean into this truth. Your genius is not a trick, not a single lucky strike. It's a pattern. It's who you are. The more they test you, the more they feed your arsenal. Every insult is a blueprint. Every betrayal is a puzzle piece. Every scheme against you is raw material for your masterpiece. And when you finally deliver that finale, it's never random. It's inevitable. They tripped into your snare because they couldn't help themselves. You didn't push them. You just let gravity finish the job. So here you stand, my dark virtuosos of strategy. Their plans are dust. Their pride is ash. And you stand unscathed, crowned not by ceremony, but by inevitability. You outsmarted them all. You let them trip into the snare they never saw. And when your final move landed, it wasn't just a victory. It was destruction so clean, so theatrical, so brilliant, it burned itself into memory. And the cruelest part for them, this isn't your last masterpiece. It's just rehearsal. Because even as the smoke clears, even as the rubble of their arrogance still smolders, you're already designing the next twist, the next snare, the next revelation that will remind the world. Genius doesn't shout. Genius waits, plots, strikes, and then rewrites history. And now, as the dust settles on this first act, understand this. The snare they fell into was never the end of your brilliance. It was only the opening scene. The real masterpiece is about to unfold. You start by letting rumor travel on rails you assembled weeks ago. Not gossip, not noise, rails. Someone hungry for recognition hears a detail you want them to overhear and carries it like a torch into a room full of dry straw. They think they are clever. They think they are early. They do not realize you calculated who would bite, who would amplify, and who would decorate the bait with their own bragging. That is the secret heart of your craft. You do not fight force with force. You let weakness advertise itself until it becomes a banner even cowards cannot hide behind. Every step they take while admiring that banner tightens the geometry of your design. You never shove. You incline the floor. They never see the gravity until they are falling. They believe the floor is flat because they measured it with rulers made of ego. You measured it with outcomes. When they step where you prepared, a gentle slide becomes a tumble, and the tumble turns into a demonstration. No need to crow. You step to the side, hands clean, and let proof walk through the door on schedule. Everyone watching produces the same sound, a small intake of breath that means the plot just turned without warning. They ask, who planned this? They know the answer, and they know you will not explain. Understand this. Your genius is not a parade of tricks. It is pattern recognition married to moral clarity. You know what drives people when they think no one is watching. You know how envy disguises itself as concern, how vanity wears philanthropy like a mask, how fear pretends to be caution. You map those disguises, and then you design circumstances where masks slide without being ripped away. That is why your opponents always feel exposed rather than attacked. You did not swing at them. You shined a light calibrated to reality, and reality did the rest. They call you ruthless. You prefer the word exact. A scalpel is exact. A compass is exact. Precision looks cruel only to people who have never practiced it. You do not sabotage careers. You remove illusions. You do not humiliate. You document. You do not hound. You unveil. And when the unveiling happens, the room sees what was there the entire time. Bluster without structure, promise without delivery, confidence without craft. Your final move lands with the weight of truth, and truth, when presented cleanly, does not require a speech. Your allies feel the difference. They recognize what you are building and what you refuse to build. You are not assembling a cult of personality. You are building a culture that rewards outcomes, protects focus, and treats timing as a sacred instrument. You pay people before they ask. You credit the quiet executor before the loud onlooker steals the spotlight. You close the back door where mediocrity sneaks in wearing friendly smiles. Under your watch, standards feel less like rules and more like oxygen. People breathe better around you because you remove the smog of pretense. The enemies circling your name do not study standards. They study shortcuts. Shortcuts work until the road bends. You are the bend. You curate bend after bend, gentle enough to look natural, sharp enough to toss the unworthy into the ditch they earned. A bend might be a deadline that exposes who planned and who pretended. A bend might be a review that weighs impact instead of noise. A bend might be a written record that reveals who said what when applause made them careless. Each bend is a lesson disguised as terrain. Notice how the audience warms to you without slogans. They learn not because you lecture, but because they witness contrast. Two people are given similar chances. One treats craft like ritual and moves the ball downfield. The other builds theater. When the spotlight fades, the theater collapses. The ritual remains. People change their bets accordingly. Your win is no longer a surprise. It becomes the expected result of discipline applied with artistry. Now comes the escalation. After one twist, skeptics call it chance. After two, they whisper. After three, They label you inevitable. Inevitable is the heaviest crown because it is forged from repetition. You wear it lightly, but your rivals feel the weight. They stay awake, imagining your next reveal. They appoint committees to analyze your methods. They hire consultants to predict your moves. None of it helps, because everything they build relies on public theater. You work with private geometry. Your diagrams are invisible, yet the shape they create is felt in every room you enter. You teach your inner circle to love that shape more than they love applause. The shape is fair. The shape is resilient. The shape rewards the right behaviors and blocks the wrong ones without creating casualties among the innocent. When the shape clicks into place, it looks obvious. That is the telltale mark of excellent planning. The public says, anyone could have done that. Your team smiles, knowing how many near misses you corrected, how many weak points you reinforced, how many temptations you refused while others chased dopamine. Meanwhile, the defeated do what the defeated always do. They hastily repackage themselves as misunderstood pioneers, posting long statements about loyalty and context. You do not argue. Argument grants them oxygen. Instead, you keep building. You release results on a cadence so steady that commentators are forced to discuss substance. Substance, repeated, cleanses rumor the way a tide cleanses a shoreline. Soon even the casual onlooker can spot the difference between polished excuses and lived achievement. But do not mistake your rise for accident. You engineered it with decisions most people cannot stomach. You withdrew from cliques that traded proximity for ethics. You turned down easy money when its terms buried hooks in the future. You stopped performing niceness for crowds that mistake charm for character. You learned to say no without apology, yes without fanfare, and later without "I told you so." That discipline created the runway for your next snare. Here is how the next snare begins. You identify a hinge, something small that swings something huge. It might be a calendar slot that everyone hates but never changes. It might be a bottleneck controlled by one tired gatekeeper. It might be a recycled narrative that people keep quoting because it has a catchy phrase. You test the hinge quietly until you learn the exact torque. Then you pivot it one precise degree. The degree seems trivial. The results are not. The bottleneck dissolves. The slot becomes practical. The phrase loses its hold and the room hears itself think. With the hinge moved, you set the stage. You place a bland invitation where you know a bold enemy cannot resist adding their name. You place a bland metric where you know a lazy enemy will fail on record. You place a bland request where you know a bruised ego will overpromise. None of these are traps in the childish sense. They are surveys. They simply reveal who is real and who is theatrical. The dramatic will expose themselves. The diligent will thrive. Then you position your reveal so it benefits the diligent first. Here is the important part. You never let the reveal punch downward. Your opponents may act petty. You do not. You aim upward towards structural drift and public trust. That is why the audience sides with you. They know you are not hunting for trophies. You are safeguarding the arena where excellence can breathe. Once that becomes clear, your final move is greeted not with gasps alone, but with nods. People do more than clap. They exhale relief. Relief is power. With relief on your side, momentum compounds. Doors open earlier, delays shorten. Talented people choose your orbit instead of the shiny entourage promising shortcuts. Sponsors offer help without demands. Watchdogs grow friendly because your practices make their jobs easier. You did not hack popularity. You earned confidence by making the environment smarter, calmer, and more predictable for people who actually do the work. The defeated crowd keeps asking, how do we beat them? They make lists of tactics, none of which address character. Character, to them, is a motivational poster. To you, it is hardware. Character takes strain without bending. Character holds the bridge while tourists take photos and critics post comments. Character keeps you from overreaching after a win. Character makes you write rules that would still be fair if the roles were reversed. That is why your playbook does not age. It iterates. Old rivals age out. Your approach gains polish. In private, you practice something rarer than cleverness: emotional range. You can be fierce without cruelty, restrained without timidity, amused without mockery. You can shake a hand today and enforce a boundary tomorrow without whining about how hard leadership is. People crave that steadiness more than they admit. They follow the person who refuses to become a weather vane. You serve them clarity. They repay you with endurance. Then comes the day you previewed months ago. The theater is crowded. The talk is loud. Your rivals rehearse satisfaction in the mirror. They believe the narrative favors them at last. They believe you are cornered by your own standards. That is when you execute the clean pivot you saved for such a day. You produce records, timelines, and receipts that transform discussion into arithmetic. You demonstrate that the assumptions supporting their speeches were counterfeit. You do not raise your voice. You do not trade insults. You let the numbers rearrange the room by themselves. Shock spreads first, then hush, then reevaluation. The crowd reviews what they thought they knew and realizes they were sold theater. Your rivals, breathing hard, try to pivot into moral superiority. They claim they were protecting the community. The community checks the receipts and sees otherwise. Your calm becomes legend because it is the opposite of theirs. They performed emotion to hide emptiness. You performed proof to reveal it. This is when many leaders indulge in victory laps. You decline, you pay your vendors, call your mother, thank your mentors, and send flowers to the team that carried boulders while others performed speeches. You close the tab. You go for a walk without turning that walk into content. You reinforce the habit that protected you from corruption in the first place. Do the work because the work is worthy, not because an audience is clapping. And then, because you are who you are, you begin laying rails again. New rails, finer, quieter. You check for leaks in the ship you just saved. You teach apprentices how to listen for the sound of pride before it breaks something. You refresh your willingness to be underestimated. You remind yourself that genius is not magic. It is attention sustained longer than most people can stand to sustain it. You sharpen without broadcasting that you are sharpening. When the next wave of opponents arrives, they repeat the parade. Big quotes, bigger promises, borrowed swagger. You treat them with courtesy and patience. Courtesy confuses the reckless. Patience terrifies the insecure. They cannot understand how you remain composed under provocation. You remain composed because provocation is a clock you do not obey. You move when the pattern completes, not when a heckler throws a stone. That is why your counter-strike looks like destiny rather than temper. Finally, the finale, a move so elegant it appears soft until the numbers land. A regulation, though you advance, that protects the craft from fraud. A partnership that turns a rival's revenue model into yesterday's trick. A release that sets a new baseline for quality and schedules the rest of the market to play catch-up for a year. You do not brag, you document. Documentation is unromantic only to those who cannot produce it. The rest of the world understands documentation as a love letter to reality. By nightfall, even your critics adopt your language. They write think pieces, grudgingly admiring your restraint. They call for higher standards without admitting where they learned them. You let them talk. Let them take credit for clarity, so long as clarity spreads. You're not hoarding prestige, you are distributing competence. The legacy you crave is not statues. The legacy you crave is an arena where the best idea survives because it is the best, not because it belongs to the loudest room. Remember the promise I made to you at the beginning of this chapter. The real masterpiece was about to unfold. Look at it now. They tripped into your snare again, even while telling themselves they were wiser this time. Your final move was clean, public, principle first, and irreversible. Their brand melted, their allies stepped back, their timelines emptied. You did not scorch the earth. You planted flags on the high ground and invited every honest builder to join you there. So hold this posture in your bones, forward tilt, clear eyes, unhurried pulse. The world will interpret it as menace. You know it is readiness. Another hinge waits, another bend waits, another corridor waits, and you will walk each one with the same poise that made the last reveal unforgettable. This is how legends are made, not with noise, but with timing so pure even doubters nod without realizing they are nodding. Then you move forward, crafting the next immaculate reveal. Because here's the truth the world is slowly beginning to grasp. You're not improvising, you're orchestrating. Every move you make feels like improvisation to outsiders. But in reality, you've been sketching these blueprints in your mind long before the pieces arrived on the board. You see the angles they don't, the ripple effects they can't, the hidden hinges they ignore. They walk into the room with surface-level assumptions. You walk in carrying an entire map of consequences. They gamble, you calculate, they hope, you ensure. That's why, time after time, they end up tripping over the invisible snares you laid with such precision, falling headfirst into humiliations so spectacular that even their supporters can't defend them. Your genius has turned into something more than strategy. It has become inevitability. Every rival that rises against you is forced into the same cycle. Confidence, overreach, collapse. They don't collapse because you shouted louder or fought harder. They collapse because your restraint is their undoing. You let them expose themselves. Let them talk too much. Let them underestimate. And when their performance reaches its climax, you deliver the Hollywood-level twist that rewrites the entire narrative. They thought they were writing the story. You were only letting them scribble in the margins while you inked the ending. And oh, how devastating that ending always is. Your snares aren't brutal because they harm. They're brutal because they reveal. You don't smear mud. You wash away illusions. You don't fabricate. You document. And when the truth is laid bare, the spectacle is so overwhelming that people watching can't believe they ever doubted you. That's the beauty of your craft. You don't just win. You make winning undeniable. You leave no space for rumors, no room for excuses. When the trapdoor opens beneath them, the entire audience sees exactly why. That's why your destruction feels cinematic, because every fall you orchestrate carries the weight of poetic justice. Look at them now. The ones who mocked you, underestimated you, plotted against you. They're scattered in the rubble of their own arrogance. Some try to crawl back into relevance, but the shadow of your snare follows them. Their names no longer inspire fear or respect. They inspire smirks. Because everyone remembers that moment when they tripped, when the snare tightened, when your final move landed so precisely, it looked scripted. They've become cautionary tales, footnotes in your rise. And you've ascended from competitor to legend. But what truly terrifies them isn't the loss itself. It's the knowledge that you enjoyed it, that you savored every calculated moment, not with cruelty, but with artistry. You didn't rage, you smiled. You didn't scramble, you strolled. You didn't fight, you revealed. That's why the pain lingers for them. Because when they replay the downfall in their minds, they don't just see themselves falling, they see you, calm, steady, already 5 moves ahead, already anticipating their excuses, already dismantling their next attempt before it even began. And here's where the twist sharpens even more. Your genius doesn't just dismantle opponents, it recruits audiences. Every downfall you orchestrate turns neutral observers into believers. People who once doubted you now study your methods, eager to learn how you transformed humiliation into theater. They watch the elegance of your moves, the way you waited, the way you executed, and they begin to crave that clarity in their own lives. You've stopped being a single strategist. You've become a phenomenon. Your legend spreads not because you shouted it, but because others can't stop retelling it. And with every retelling, the myth grows sharper, heavier, more undeniable. Now pause and think. How many times have they tried to corner you? How many times did they convince themselves that this was the moment they'd finally outsmart you? And every time, without exception, they ended up in the same place, trapped, exposed, dismantled. Their pride told them they were climbing a ladder. In reality, they were walking into a snare disguised as a staircase. They were so busy looking upward, drunk on visions of victory, that they never noticed you'd greased the rungs. And when they slipped, when they fell, when their own momentum carried them into the pit, all you had to do was step back and let gravity do the work. That's not luck, that's genius weaponized. Understand this, your genius doesn't just scare individuals, it destabilizes entire groups. One rival falls, and the rest scatter, terrified of being next. They whisper among themselves, trying to predict your next move, but they can't. They can't, because you don't operate on their schedule. You don't react when provoked. You wait until the entire stage is set, until every eye is watching, until the impact of your twist will be maximum. And then you strike, not with noise, but with precision so clean, it leaves no survivors in the arena of reputation. And that final move, the one that destroys them, that's where the legend cements itself. Because every time you deliver, it isn't just about winning. It's about spectacle. You craft your finales so sharply, so dramatically, that they burn themselves into memory. They aren't just plot twists. They're cultural events. They're the kind of revelations people bring up months later saying, "Do you remember when they tried to trap you, and you turned it into their funeral?" That's why your legacy grows. Because you don't just execute strategy, you create unforgettable cinema out of arrogance. And as you move forward, poised, unhurried, ready for the next corridor, the world finally understands something crucial. You can't be stopped. You're not a lucky survivor. You're not a reactive fighter. You're an inevitability. Every attempt to bring you down only fuels the theater of your rise. Every snare you set isn't just a defense. It's a stage for their destruction. Every final move isn't just victory. It's a spectacle that leaves scars. And when scars turn into stories, stories turn into legend. So let them keep trying. Let them plot, whisper, circle, and scheme. Let them imagine they've found a weakness. Because every time they gather their courage, every time they convince themselves they finally understand you, they'll walk into the same destiny, your brilliance, your snare, your final move. They'll never realize until it's too late that the game ended long before they started playing. They'll never see that your hand was on the script from the beginning. They'll never escape the truth that their downfall was not just possible, it was inevitable. And you'll keep walking forward till clear eyes, unhurried pulse, crafting the next reveal, designing the next twist, perfecting the next finale. Because genius doesn't rest, genius doesn't retire, genius keeps weaving, keeps orchestrating, keeps rewriting. And you have proven beyond doubt, you are that genius. You are the snare, you are the plot twist,